Joining us live now here from the Republican National Convention is Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, a member of his state's delegation here at the RNC. Governor DeWine, thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here. Thank you.
My first question, look out over this convention. You guys weren't able to do this in 2020. 2016 was the last time. You happy to be here?
Oh, it's great. Look, for Ohio, this has been an extra special, great convention. But I think for everybody else, look, we're a unified party. You saw Nikki Haley last night speak. Great speech. You've seen other people who ran against Trump.
Right.
We invited them to come here, so it's all good.
Yeah. Talk to me about Senator JD Vance. He is the junior senator from your great state. Do you know him? Have you gotten to know him? Why is he good for former President Trump?
I know him pretty well. As soon as his book came out, I called him. I said, "This is fascinating." Fran and I got to know him and his wife Usha. I've had dinner with them. So yeah, I think, this is a big night. He's going to introduce himself, frankly, to the American people.
Yeah. What does he add to the ticket, do you think?
I think first of all, he's very articulate. He's very bright. I think if you've watched him in the last several months, he's really articulated Donald Trump's message exceedingly well. That had to be one of the reasons that the president wanted him on this ticket. Second, though, I think his life story is an amazing story. Anybody who has a problem in their family, who's had addiction in their family, he can relate to that. He's had that trauma. And frankly, my experience in life is that people who've experienced trauma themselves are better people.
Yeah.
They're better
right.
office
No,
holders.
of course, and it affects all families across America. Some people don't consider Ohio a battleground state anymore, but you neighbor a lot of battleground states, right? You're there in the Midwest. You have that blue wall up there. Some people have argued that Senator JD Vance gives something to former President Trump in trying to get those blue-collar voters in those Midwest states. Do you think that's true?
Yes, I do. Look, he's a Midwesterner. There's something about the Midwest that's just a little different than the rest of the country. Yeah. It's like every other region. He grew up here. He's one of us. And I think people will relate to that. Look, this is an introduction to most people, so it's going to be a process for them to get to know him. But what they see, I think they're going to like a lot.
I want to show you a poll. It's a poll you might be familiar with. This was right after your big election victory in 2022, right? You won your re-election. And here's the poll right up here. You can see it on our screen, Governor. So you won big, right? You won by 25 points. Senator JD Vance only won by 6 points. So how do Republicans make that argument that he can appeal to all those blue-collar voters, he can get more votes in those Midwestern states? I know you're a household name in Ohio. I know it's a little bit different, but that's a big spread.
Well, look, that was his first introduction to the people of the state of Ohio. And frankly, Donald Trump endorsing him in that race made a huge, huge difference. We know that in the primary. Look, he did well. He got elected to the United States Senate. I've run 15 times in Ohio statewide, so I'm not sure it's a great comparison, but I understand.
I do want to ask you, you haven't always been on the same page with former President Trump, right? We're talking about President Biden and COVID. You had a different view of COVID and how to run your state. You also had differences on candidates for office. Are you happy he's the party's nominee?
Yes. Look, we were delighted to have an Ohioan. The first time we've had an Ohioan on the Republican ticket since 80 years ago. So Governor, 1944. I wasn't alive then.
I didn't ask you about Senator Vance. I asked you about former President Trump. Are you happy that he's the nominee?
Look, clearly he's the consensus. He is who our party is behind. This is where our party is today. Are you
happy about that?
Yeah, sure. Do we have differences? Yes. We're a big party, and we have people with differences. I disagree, for example, with JD Vance in regard to Ukraine. I'm a strong believer that we must back Ukraine. It's in our national interest to do it.
And he said that he's not as interested in Ukraine. He'd rather focus that money on the border, and that's a big difference with you.
Yeah, sure, it's a difference. But we only have two parties in this country. We expect to see differences within those parties. That is not unusual to see differences.
Yeah. Governor DeWine, you are a man that is wise. You have been around a long time. Age is an issue for President Biden. Do you think those conversations are fair? Do you think that the argument Democrats are making within their own party that he's too old to run, he doesn't have what it takes to do another 4 years, are fair? As somebody who's maybe still in his prime and ran for re-election in Ohio and won.
Well, look, I think what I've gained over the years is wisdom. May have lost some other things, don't hear quite as well. So in my case, I happen to think I have a lot to give. I've got 2.5 more years as governor, and I'm excited about that. Look, people are going to have to make their own judgment about President Biden. You know, I'm not sure I have any better insight than anybody else does in regard to that.
Yeah. Do you think it's a fair argument to have, though? And post-debate, do you think Democrats were right to be concerned after that debate?
Well, look, we all saw the debate. You know, my wife and I actually saw him at the White House probably about a month ago. He was leaving. We were taking some family members there for a tour. He happened to stop the motorcade. I've known him from the United States Senate for many, many years. He came out and talked to us. Look, the conversation we had with him that day, candidly, was just fine.
Right.
It was fine. So I'm not one to say.
Yeah.
But we all watched the debate.
You know, I appreciate your honesty on that point. Let me ask you about what happens in Ohio. If your party is successful, you're going to have a vacant Senate seat. You have the power to appoint the next senator of Ohio. We had Vivek Ramaswamy right here, right where you were sitting, and my colleague Hallie Jackson asked him about it, and he signaled that he would be very interested to serve either in the administration or in the Senate in Ohio. Would he be a good senator?
Well, first of all, he's extremely articulate. My wife and I both watched that speech last night. We thought it was phenomenal. Great presentation to the people in this audience and across the country. I'm not going to get into names at this point. What I've said is, you know, we got to win this campaign. I want Bernie Moreno to be elected to the United States Senate. That's really what our focus is, as well as getting, you know, President Trump and JD Vance. So that's where our focus is today.
But you know politics inside now. What would make a good senator for Ohio?
First of all, I served 12 years, so I want someone who will be a workhorse, someone who will roll up their sleeves, get things done, represent the state, represent this country. That's, to me, is number one. Number two, they have to be able to win a primary. They have to be able to win a general election. And then they have
You can't just get appointed. You want a long future.
Yeah, I want someone who's going to stay there, because more seniority still matters in the United States Senate about how effective you can be. You can be effective in day one. You're going to continue to be effective the longer you're there. I want someone who can stay there for a long period of time.
You've done local government. You've done federal government. You're now the governor of your state. I do want to ask you, how much has politics changed and the laws and everything else when you think about when you started in politics and now, and how important being a governor is right now in this country when it comes to issues like abortion and issues with the Supreme Court?
Look, as Republicans, we have always said we want power back to the states. We're getting that in some instances. Some instances, frankly, under the Biden administration, we're not. But the governors, I think, have done a great job. And we think that we can handle most of these problems better than the federal government can. But look, it's a partnership. You know, Medicaid, for example, it is a partnership, and that's the way it's going to stay. So there has to be that working relationship between the governors and between whoever the president is, no matter what party they belong to.
Last question. If you had a chance to whisper in Senator JD Vance's ear before he walks out here in Milwaukee, what would you tell him?
Be yourself. People are going to love you. That would be all I would say. Be yourself.
All right. Governor Mike DeWine, always a pleasure. We thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.